ProWrestlingSheet.com.
So Jack Swagger did an interview today in which he announced that he is officially going to be fighting in Bellator. But it was something that Jack said during the interview that sort of piqued my interest. So this all went down on the MMA Hour with Ariel Helwani, and Swagger told him that he felt as though he was the toughest guy in the WWE locker room, and that he was continually forced to go out and lose to guys in 2 minutes that couldn't hold his jock. Which is a pretty bold statement. I mean, there's some tough guys in the WWE locker room right now. So I wanted to take a look at what Jack Swagger said and list off who I think the top 5 toughest guys in WWE are that would actually beat everyone else up on the roster in a real fight, and then figure out if those guys would beat Jack Swagger in a real fight. Alright, so first and foremost, I'm cutting off all the part-timers. All the part-timers are not included in this list. The Brock Lesnars, the Big Shows, the Kanes, the Mark Henrys, they're all off this list. They don't count. I'm only sticking with the people who were on the roster full-time. So I'm scrolling through the list of superstars on WWE.com, and I feel like right off the bat, as much as I feel like there's some tough guys on there, all of 205 Live, they're not making the cut here. In terms of who's gonna beat up the entire roster in a shoot fight, I don't feel like any of them are making the cut. Someone who is making the cut for me, though, is my first pick in my top 5, Baron Corbin. He's got a boxing background, he's got a football background, dude is tough, he's also tall, he's big, he's mean, he's angry. He's an easy contender for a top 5 dudes that could beat up everybody else on the roster. AJ Styles, no. Miz, no. Pete Dunne, definitely not. Drew McIntyre, he's not a top contender. Eric Young, no. Aiden English, no. Apollo Crews, no. Big E. Big E's another one. I was thinking about Big E, and he's a tough dude, but I feel like in order to beat everyone up on the main roster, you've got to be able to throw some pretty long punches, and he's buff, but he hasn't got like the longest arms, so if he had to be punching higher or doing, you know, any kind of hooks, I feel like someone's gonna get to him faster. So Big E, he's not on my list. I was also thinking about the Bludgeon Brothers too. There's, you know, Eric Rowan and Luke Harper. They're both really big dudes, they're both big tough dudes, but I just feel like if it came down to an actual fight, someone that has some sort of wrestling training beyond pro wrestling or some sort of fighting background has a better chance. So the Bludgeon Brothers, they're also not making the list. Now, for people who I do think could possibly beat up a majority of the roster, and it's someone who I don't think would be on many people's lists, but I'm throwing Chad Gable on mine. Chad Gable went to the Olympics, he trained his entire life in wrestling, and I think that if it came down to people getting scrappy, he'd be able to do it. On the other side of that coin, though, I'm going to throw in a name that doesn't have any MMA background or amateur wrestling background or boxing background, but I feel like if he's not on this list, he might kick the crap out of me, though. So I'm putting Braun Strowman on my list. Obviously, he's the biggest guy on the roster. It's going to be impossible for people to take him down, for people to punch him in the face. So, Braun Strowman for sure. Alright, so I got 4 other names I'm just going to lump together here because they've all got impressive physiques. They're all tough dudes. But when I was making a list of the top guys who could beat everyone up on the main roster, I just didn't feel like they made the cut here. And that's John Cena, Randy Orton, Shinsuke Nakamura, and Jinder Mahal. Now, I know that some of you might be surprised by Shinsuke Nakamura being on that list since he has done MMA in the past, but I just feel like it's been a while since he's done that. He's gotten a lot older since then, and if it really came down to a scrappy fight, I feel like there are people who would beat him up. Dean Ambrose, no. Elias Sampson, no. Fandango, no. Finn Balor, no. Goldust, no. Heath Slater, no. Ah, there we are, the S's. Okay. My final 2 on my top 5 tough guys in WWE are in the S section. Samoa Joe and Sin Cara. They're not a tag team or anything, I know you guys all know that, but Samoa Joe, legitimate tough guy, legitimate badass. I believe he's done a little bit of MMA training. If it came down to it, a real fight, I feel like Samoa Joe would have a serious chance of winning. Same goes for Cara, who we have heard has gotten into multiple fights in the past, allegedly, reportedly, and so that's why he's on my list as well. All right, so that's my list. That's my top 5 contenders: Baron Corbin, Samoa Joe, Sin Cara, Chad Gable, and Braun Strowman. But the big question, obviously, is could Jack Swagger have beaten all of those guys up? That's, I think, the big question here. First up, Chad Gable versus Jack Swagger. And I know that I said Chad Gable seems like he'd be scrappy if it came down to it, but Jack Swagger also has a lot of amateur accolades, and he outweighs Chad Gable by a lot. He's also a lot taller than him, so I feel like if I got my money here on someone, I'm going with Jack Swagger. Swagger versus Sin Cara. Another good one, but as scrappy as Sin Cara is, Jack Swagger is still a real tough dude. And if he was actually motivated in a real fight, my money is gonna be on Jack Swagger. All right, here's where things are gonna get a little muddy. I'm sorry, Jack. You're a badass. You're a tough dude. But Samoa Joe is pretty damn tough. Baron Corbin does have a boxing background and is bigger. And Braun Strowman is a monster among men. So if I had to guess just on my opinion here, I'm gonna guess that those 3 guys would beat up Jack Swagger in a real fight. Now this is obviously all just my opinion. I'm just having fun here. I could totally be wrong. Jack Swagger probably could kick the crap out of all of them. Who knows? I can tell you this much. I would have loved to have seen him try. And I am excited to see him actually try his hand at MMA when he makes his debut in Bellator in 2018. Alright guys, until next time, go check out our Patreon page. We've got a bunch of perks on there, but the one that's most popular is early story alerts. Whenever I can, when I've got a real important story, I try to give early access to all of our Patreon supporters by putting it up on there 15 minutes or so before it goes up on the site for all the rest of the world to see. And also, make sure to follow us on social media. We're on Facebook and Twitter at Wrestling Sheet, and you can find me, I'm at Ryan Satin. Also, make sure you go hit the subscribe button here. I'm trying to get this YouTube thing going if you haven't noticed. Alright, that's it. I'm done. Officially tapping out for now. Until next time, stay out of the dirt and keep your eye on the sheet.
ProWrestlingSheet.com